What if I told you the moment that finally pushed Meghan Markle over the edge didn't happen inside palace walls, behind silk curtains, or during one of those carefully staged royal photo ops where everyone pretends nothing is wrong? What if the moment that truly broke her happened under bright stage lights, in front of world leaders, CEOs, students, journalists, and millions watching online, all triggered by one surprising line from Kate Middleton? A line so subtle that half the room laughed politely, thinking it was harmless, while the other half froze, realizing exactly who Kate was referring to. And the fallout from that single sentence didn't end on stage. It exploded across continents. But before we continue, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. And here's the craziest part. Kate wasn't even trying to start drama. Or was she? That's where our story begins. With a room full of people who came to hear the Princess of Wales speak at the Future Workforce Summit, a high-profile global event dedicated to innovation, women in leadership, youth empowerment, and the future of the economy. People expected Kate to be polished, inspiring, poised. They didn't expect her to drop a line that would rip open one of the messiest royal feuds of modern times. But that's exactly what happened. Before we dive in, let me ask you a question. And be honest with yourself. Have you ever heard someone make a joke that was technically innocent, perfectly clean, totally professional, yet everyone in the room knew exactly who it was aimed at? That uncomfortable moment where the speaker smiles like nothing is wrong, the audience forces a laugh, and the person being targeted pretends they didn't notice? That's this moment. Except this wasn't your boss throwing shade at a coworker. This wasn't a teacher subtly calling out a lazy student. This wasn't even two politicians trading barbs. This was Kate Middleton, the future Queen of England, making a carefully wrapped comment that, intentional or not, hit Meghan Markle harder than anything the press has thrown at her in the past 4 years. And the reason it matters now is because the pressure on Meghan has been building for months. Public opinion slipping, Hollywood backing away, Netflix reconsidering deals, former friends distancing themselves. And then, out of nowhere, Kate stands on one of the biggest stages of her career and says a line that the internet instantly connected to Meghan's past, particularly her resurfacing nickname, Duchess of Yacht. A nickname Meghan absolutely despises. A nickname she hoped would be buried forever. A nickname that suddenly came roaring back to life like wildfire. But let's not jump ahead. Not yet. Let's go back to the moment Kate took the stage. The entire room was buzzing. Not in a chaotic way, but in that excited, anticipatory way people behave when they know they're about to hear from someone who rarely slips up, rarely improvises, and rarely says anything that could be interpreted as shady. Kate is known for her polished speeches, intentional words, controlled delivery, perfect posture, no wasted lines. Which is why what happened hit even harder. Kate walked up to the podium in that signature composed stride of hers. The audience instantly quieted. Cameras clicked. A spotlight warmed her face. She smiled, not a forced smile, not a stiff royal smile, but that relaxed, almost playful smile she uses when she's about to charm a room rather than lecture it. She took a breath, adjusted her notes, and began with a light-hearted anecdote about young people entering the workforce today. Something relatable, something inspiring, something almost sweet. And then it happened. One line, one moment, one sentence that cracked the internet in half. She said, in her usual calm, almost gentle tone, that young professionals shouldn't try to skip the hard work by jumping on glamorous shortcuts or reinventing themselves every few months just to stay relevant. The room laughed politely, but only for a second, because within that second, the realization spread like a silent wave. People exchanged glances. A few eyebrows rose. A couple of journalists froze mid-typing. And someone in the front row let out the kind of laugh you make when you're shocked and trying to cover it up. Was Kate referencing Meghan's attempt at rebranding? Her influencer-like relaunches? Her past before the royal family? Her new projects that appear out of nowhere? Her constant shifting public image? Or, as Twitter and TikTok later claimed, her rumored yacht years? No one knew for sure. But one thing was clear. The timing couldn't have been worse for Meghan. Because only days earlier, a resurfaced conversation on social media reignited the infamous Duchess of Yacht label, a nickname Meghan has long fought to bury. And now Kate had set a line at a global summit that sounded suspiciously like a jab at someone who constantly reinvents themselves to stay relevant. Coincidence? Maybe. Maybe not. The audience didn't want to overreact. Kate continued her speech with that same serene confidence, as though the line meant nothing. She moved into talking about workforce resilience, women leadership, and the importance of authenticity. Authenticity. That word again. Audiences worldwide felt the subtext. Authenticity versus reinvention. Stability versus drama. Responsibility versus chaos. Every word felt like a contrast. A comparison, without Kate ever naming names. And that's the dangerous beauty of it. Kate didn't have to say Meghan's name. She didn't have to glance at the camera knowingly. She didn't have to pause dramatically. She didn't have to smirk or emphasize her tone. She simply dropped the line like any professional would, then kept moving. But the internet, the press, the public, they didn't forget it. Because at that same moment, halfway across the world, Meghan Markle was filming content with her team. Someone showed her the clip. And according to multiple insiders, Meghan's reaction wasn't anything close to calm. She allegedly turned pale, then furious, then full meltdown. One source even claimed Meghan shouted, "She thinks she's funny? She thinks she's clever?" Harry reportedly tried calming her, reminding her that Kate has never publicly attacked her. But Meghan didn't want logic. She wanted control. She wanted the narrative back. She wanted the internet to stop laughing. But the internet does what the internet does. And within minutes, Kate's clip had gone viral. Commentators dissected the line. Body language experts chimed in. Social media created memes within minutes. News outlets framed it as Kate's subtle but pointed jab. And worst of all for Meghan, that dreaded nickname trended all over again. Duchess of Yacht. 3 words Meghan despises more than any tabloid headline. 3 words she has fought tooth and nail to erase. 3 words she thought she'd outrun. Until now. But here's the haunting part. Kate didn't deny anything. She didn't clarify. She didn't explain. She didn't even blink. She continued her royal duties quietly, while the world speculated. Was the line intentional, or just an unfortunate coincidence? Meghan, though, didn't see it as coincidence. She saw it as an attack, a betrayal, an ambush. She began calling PR advisors, strategists, friends in Hollywood, anyone who would listen. Her team urged her to ignore it. They said responding would make things worse. They said it would look defensive. They said Kate hadn't actually named her. But Meghan doesn't like silence. And she definitely doesn't like when she isn't the center of the story. Which brings us to the reason this moment matters now. Not 2 years ago, not 5 years ago, not at the height of Harry and Meghan's popularity. Meghan's brand is fragile, very fragile. And any public humiliation, especially one connected to her past, threatens everything she's trying to build. So when Kate delivered that line, intentionally or not, it hit the exact pressure point Meghan has tried to hide. Her image, her credibility, her past life, her reinventions. And Meghan reacted explosively. But here's where the story takes a darker, more unexpected turn. Because what Meghan did next, what she said behind closed doors, what she allegedly planned with her team, led to a chain reaction no one predicted. And Kate didn't lift a finger. She didn't reply. She didn't acknowledge the controversy. She didn't even blink. One sentence from Kate triggered a global debate. One meltdown from Meghan accelerated her unraveling. One leaked message from inside Meghan's circle fueled the fire even more. And now we're heading straight into a dramatic spiral that only gets messier from here. Because what came after the summit? What happened once Kate walked off stage? What Meghan allegedly said and did in private would change everything. And no one, not even the insiders closest to them, saw it coming. What if the moment that shifted the balance between Kate Middleton and Meghan Markle wasn't planned, scripted, or strategized, but happened in a split second, the way lightning splits the sky open without warning? What if an entire global summit filled with professionals, innovators, and world leaders suddenly became ground zero for the most unexpected royal crisis of the year? Picture the scene. A theater-style conference hall, seats filled with thousands of people wearing badges, lanyards, and expressions of eager anticipation. The Future Workforce Summit was never meant to be a place of royal drama. It was supposed to be about solutions, strategy, leadership, and the next generation. But the moment Kate Middleton stepped up to the stage, the energy changed. You know that hush that falls over a room when someone powerful walks in? That's exactly what happened. People leaned forward. Phones rose just slightly, trying to capture the perfect angle. A few whispered to friends, "She looks even calmer in person." Someone else muttered, "She's going to nail this." And honestly, everyone expected a standard royal speech, polished, safe, inspiring, forgettable. Instead, they got a moment that would ricochet across continents. But let's not race ahead. Let's slow down and enter the room the way Kate did, with purpose, elegance, and just a hint of quiet authority. She walked across the stage with a confidence that wasn't loud, wasn't showy, but had weight. Heavy enough to command attention. Light enough to make it look effortless. That sort of presence isn't taught. It's earned. The kind that comes from years of discipline, silence, and self-restraint. That balance, the ability to say volumes without raising your voice, is one of Kate's superpowers. And ironically, it's the exact quality Meghan has always struggled with. Kate reached the podium, adjusted the microphone, smiled. Not a cheesy grin, not an overly rehearsed royal smile, but a warm, human, relaxed expression. The kind that says, "You're welcome here. Let's enjoy this moment together." Then she began. A light opening, a relatable anecdote, something safe about her children and how quickly they're growing. The audience chuckled. A few parents in the crowd nodded sympathetically. Journalists scribbled. Phones recorded. Everything was normal. Everything was smooth. Everything was perfect. And that's exactly when the room changed, when Kate delivered the line that would ignite the biggest storm of the year. But before we get to the line, let's zoom in. What was happening inside the room at the exact second that set everything off? Right before the joke, people were relaxed. Shoulders softened. Pens clicked against notebooks absent-mindedly. Someone in the front row raised a coffee cup. A young woman in the middle of the room was texting her friend. "Kate is so pretty, OMG." Meanwhile, at home, thousands of viewers were settling into their couches, expecting a predictable royal speech they'd forget in 2 hours. But then Kate leaned ever so slightly closer to the microphone, just a fraction, barely noticeable, and said the sentence that shifted all the energy in the room. She said, in that calm, composed tone, "We must remind young professionals that success doesn't come from jumping on glamorous shortcuts or reinventing yourself every few months simply to stay relevant." The words traveled through the hall like a ripple. A few people laughed politely, but most didn't, because the meaning of that sentence, intentional or not, hit like a dart, and everyone knew exactly where that dart landed. You could feel the air tighten, a shift most speakers would completely miss. But not Kate. She felt it. Even if she didn't show it. The front row reacted first. Subtle, but visible. A man blinked rapidly, as if mentally replaying what he heard. A woman pressed her lips together, trying not to react. Another attendee stifled a laugh that came out a bit too loud. And journalists? They froze. Literally froze. Fingers hovered over keyboards like someone had hit pause on their brains. It was the kind of moment reporters dream about. The unexpected spark, the unscripted moment, the subtle shade disguised inside a professional speech. A few seats behind them, someone muttered, "Did she just?" Someone else whispered, "Oh my God." Because although Kate never said Meghan's name, she didn't have to. Everyone knew Meghan's entire public persona was built on reinventions. Actress, influencer, duchess, activist, brand creator, Hollywood insider, podcast host, documentary narrator, lifestyle mogul, rebound celebrity, and the list goes on. And what about the worst rumor Meghan hoped to bury forever? The one involving yachts, glamour, wealthy businessmen, and whispered stories from long before she met Harry. That rumor was already resurfacing online before Kate even left the stage. But in that moment, in that exact second, the audience didn't have time to process the full implications. Cameras zoomed in. Twitter clips were already being posted. TikTok accounts started slicing the line into micro videos with dramatic captions. Meanwhile, Kate continued speaking as though nothing had happened, as though she hadn't just dropped one of the most analyzed lines of her entire public life. Her delivery remained calm, collected, professional. She spoke about resilience, opportunity, authenticity, work ethic, and courage. Authenticity. That word hit harder than the sentence before it. Because authenticity is one of the biggest areas Meghan's critics target. And here Kate was, on a global stage, talking about staying true to who you are. You can imagine the audience's thoughts. Was this coincidence? A strategic move? A thinly veiled message? Or just an unfortunate phrase at the worst possible time? Even if Kate hadn't meant it as a jab, it was too late. The world had heard it. And Meghan, according to insiders, would soon confirm she believed it was a direct attack. But let's stay inside the room a bit longer and watch what happened next. After the sentence, Kate didn't stutter. She didn't pause dramatically. She didn't look smug or mischievous. She simply moved forward, steady, unbothered, natural. That's what made the line so powerful. It felt deliberate because she didn't react. The audience, meanwhile, wasn't sure how to behave. Do you laugh? Do you stay quiet? Do you pretend you didn't notice? Do you share a wide-eyed look with the person next to you? People chose all of the above. A handful of attendees avoided eye contact altogether, afraid the cameras might capture their reactions and drag them into a royal feud. Others giggled nervously. One woman mouthed, "Wow." Someone else, a younger attendee, whispered to her friend, "She's talking about Meghan. That's literally about Meghan. Oh my gosh." And the journalists? They were already drafting headlines in their heads. This wasn't supposed to happen. Royal speeches are planned down to the comma. Someone from the palace typically combs through drafts multiple times. So the idea that this line made it through without anyone questioning the subtext was almost unbelievable. Unless it wasn't an accident. Unless it was a strategic message. A subtle checkmate move. A quiet warning disguised as leadership advice. And here's the question you have to ask yourself. If Kate truly meant the line, why would she reveal it in such a public setting? Why drop it at a global summit rather than a smaller event? Because doing it here, in front of the world, gives it legitimacy. It becomes framed as leadership advice, not personal shade. That's genius. And that's why the internet exploded. But here's the twist you don't know yet. Someone backstage caught Kate's expression the moment she walked away from the podium. And that expression is what sparked the first wave of speculation, because it wasn't neutral. As Kate left the stage, her smile softened. Her eyes flickered downward for half a second. A tiny exhale left her lips. Not exhaustion, not nerves. Something else. Something that looked a lot like relief mixed with something unreadable. Almost as though she knew she had walked a tightrope line perfectly, or had barely avoided falling off it. Meanwhile, cameras followed her exit. Organizers applauded her. Attendees stood. And in the back row, someone whispered a sentence that would soon echo online. She knows what she did. Now here's the part the public didn't see. The moment Kate stepped off stage, one of the event organizers leaned in to speak to her. They exchanged a few words. Kate smiled again. But the organizer's face was different. Nervous, tense, uncertain. The exchange was brief, but meaningful enough that onlookers took note. One insider later revealed the organizer quietly asked Kate if she was aware how her reinvention comment could be interpreted. Kate reportedly responded, with perfect calm, "I was speaking generally, not about anyone specific." But the insider added that Kate's tone was interesting. Not defensive, not surprised, not bothered, just matter of fact. Almost like she'd anticipated the question. But here's the real moment the summit froze. The second the live stream chat began exploding with thousands of comments linking Kate's remark to Meghan in real time. It spread like wildfire. Every second someone typed, "She meant Meghan. She meant Duchess of Yacht. She meant Hollywood reinvention queen. She meant Meg. She absolutely meant Meghan." And this was before Meghan even saw the clip. It would reach her soon enough. And when she saw it, her reaction would push the entire situation into overdrive. But inside the summit hall, the energy kept building. People whispered. Phones buzzed continuously with notifications. Gifts were made. Headlines drafted. The entire room went from business professional to silent chaos in under 2 minutes. And yet Kate continued greeting organizers and attendees like a woman who had no idea she had just detonated a cultural bomb. Two worlds existed at the same time. Kate's calm, composed world, and the audience's world of shock, disbelief, and speculation. The moment the summit froze wasn't when Kate delivered the line. It was the moment everyone collectively realized the implications of that line. And Meghan? She had no idea any of this was happening yet. But she was about to find out. And when she did, the reaction she unleashed would set off a chain of events no one, not the palace, not the press, not her own team, saw coming. Because what happened next would change everything. What if the clip of Kate Middleton's now infamous line reached Meghan Markle before it reached the global press? What if Meghan's reaction wasn't a calm, calculated PR response, but something raw, explosive, and deeply personal? The kind of reaction that exposes far more than she ever intended. Because according to one insider who was physically present in the Montecito home that day, Meghan didn't even make it 90 seconds into the clip before everything spiraled out of control. But before we walk into that living room, the soft lighting, the curated neutral tones, the strategically placed throw pillows that scream lifestyle brand, let's ask a simple question. Have you ever seen someone react so strongly to something that everyone around them freezes, unsure whether to comfort them, run away, or pretend they saw nothing? That's what happened the moment Meghan saw Kate's sentence. Not the whole speech, not the context, not the nuance, just the one sentence, delivered and clipped perfectly by Twitter like a dart aimed right at her. Let's rewind. It was late morning in Montecito. Bright sunlight pouring through tall windows. Birds chirping. The ocean breeze drifting lazily. Meghan was allegedly prepping content with her small creative team. Notes scattered, cameras being tested, assistants adjusting lighting for a potential product announcement video. Everything was calm. Everything was controlled. Everything was choreographed. Until someone, one unlucky assistant who simply wanted to keep her boss informed, walked toward Meghan holding a phone. "Have you seen this yet?" the assistant asked. Meghan, in her signature soft but authoritative voice, responded, "What is it?" The assistant tapped play. Kate Middleton appeared on screen. Calm, graceful, effortless. Meghan's expression shifted instantly. Not jealousy, not anger. Something far sharper. Tension. The kind that creeps up your spine before your mind even understands what's wrong. The clip played. Kate spoke. The sentence came. Success doesn't come from jumping on glamorous shortcuts or reinventing yourself every few months simply to stay relevant. There was a brief pause, the same kind the summit audience experienced, but Meghan's reaction was the opposite of calm. She froze, eyes narrowed, shoulders stiffened. Then she spoke, low, controlled, almost whispered. She didn't say that, but she had. The assistant quickly added, "It's trending because people think." "Turn it off," Meghan snapped. The assistant immediately did, but it didn't matter. Meghan had heard it. And worse, she understood exactly how the world would interpret it. Her breathing picked up. She stood abruptly. One of the light stands rattled when her shoulder brushed it. She didn't notice. Her hands went to her temples. She paced. "She said that on purpose," Meghan said. "She thinks she can humiliate me and get away with it." A second assistant tried to step in, cautiously. "It might not have been about you. It could just be." "No," Meghan cut in, turning sharply. "Don't be naive. That was targeted. She knows exactly what she's doing." But the thing is, Kate didn't acknowledge any controversy. She didn't respond. She didn't add fuel. And that silence threw Meghan even deeper into panic. Because Meghan's worst enemy isn't criticism. It's indifference. Indifference strips her of control. Indifference makes her invisible. Indifference removes the oxygen her public narrative depends on. And Kate, whether intentionally or not, had delivered a line that revived Meghan's most hated rumor without even acknowledging her existence. So the reaction was instant and volatile. Let's step deeper into the room. The team exchanged uneasy glances. This wasn't the first time Meghan reacted strongly to content involving Kate, but this felt different. More personal, more threatening, more humiliating. Meghan paced back and forth like a caged animal, her hands clenched tightly, her breathing loud enough for the room to hear. A stylist stepped back. A producer stepped away quietly. An assistant tried to slip out of the room unnoticed. And then Meghan demanded, "Who's sharing the clip? Has the press picked it up? What are they saying?" Within seconds, 3 assistants were checking Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube livestream comments. Anything and everything. Meghan didn't want data. She wanted validation, confirmation, proof she wasn't imagining the attack. And she got it. "It's trending #1 worldwide," one assistant said hesitantly. Meghan stopped pacing. Her voice dropped into a cold, razor-sharp tone. What's the hashtag? The assistant swallowed. It's Duchess of Yacht. The phone nearly slipped from Meghan's hands. Silence. A long, crushing, suffocating silence. You could almost hear the moment her heart dropped. Because that nickname wasn't just an insult. It wasn't just a rumor. It wasn't just an internet joke. It was the ghost of a past Meghan had spent years erasing, rewriting, and denying. The rumor that followed her, the one she feared the most, the one Twitter resurrected any time a scandal erupted. And now Kate, the woman Meghan privately believes stole her spotlight, her narrative, and her future, had accidentally, or intentionally, depending on who you ask, unleashed it again. That nickname spreading wasn't just online humiliation. It was a direct threat to Meghan's entire brand, the brand built on empowerment, reinvention, and rebranding herself as a polished lifestyle icon. Meghan inhaled sharply. Her eyes glistened, not with sadness, but with fury. "She's trying to destroy me," she said. "She's trying to humiliate me publicly." One assistant tried professionally to de-escalate. "It might not be about that. She didn't name anyone. Stop defending her." Meghan shouted. The room froze. That was the moment her meltdown fully detonated. Meghan grabbed her phone and immediately dialed someone. The room fell silent, everyone pretending to be invisible, waiting for the storm to end. A voice answered. Insiders claim it was someone extremely close to Meghan, not Harry, but someone she trusts with strategic conversations. "She went after me," Meghan said without greeting. "Kate went after me during a speech. She took a shot at me on stage." The voice on the other end said something like, "Calm down. Explain what happened." And Meghan did, pacing, ranting, spiraling. Her voice rose and fell in waves, as though trying to outrun her own thoughts. "She's jealous. She's threatened. She can't stand that I'm still relevant. She wants the world to laugh at me. She wants to paint me as some unstable outsider." Every emotional wound resurfaced. But here's the key detail no one expected. Meghan wasn't just furious about the line itself. She was terrified of what would happen next, how the palace might respond, how the press would frame the moment, how Kate's silence would shape the narrative. Because here's a hard truth Meghan knows all too well. If Kate doesn't respond, Meghan looks guilty. If Kate stays silent, Meghan looks reactive. If Kate ignores the drama, Meghan looks unhinged. Meghan knows this. She's lived it. She hates it. And that's when the meltdown evolved into something else, strategy. Her adrenaline turned into planning. Her anger turned into control. Her panic turned into defiance. "We need to get ahead of this," she said. "We need to respond." But her team, the same team she hired to craft her brand, protect her image, and guide her through crises, didn't agree. One brave advisor said, "We recommend staying quiet. If you respond, it will confirm you think the line was about you." Meghan stared at him like he had spoken another language. "So I just sit here and do nothing?" she asked. "That is our strong advice," he said. Meghan shook her head violently. "No, absolutely not. Kate gets to take a shot at me, and I just sit here like I don't care? The world already thinks I'm unstable." Another advisor added gently, "If you respond, the world will believe it more." Silence. Then Meghan said, "If Harry were here, he'd support me." But Harry wasn't here. He was allegedly at a meeting related to one of their few remaining joint projects. So Meghan did what Meghan always does when she feels cornered. She ignored advice. She grabbed her phone again. She began typing messages. Fast, aggressively, thumbs hitting the screen like hammer strikes. One assistant quietly stepped close enough to glimpse the messages, not the full texts, but enough to understand the tone. Whoever Meghan was texting, she was furious with them too. "You should have warned me. You should have anticipated this. You knew this was coming. How did no one stop this? What am I paying you for?" Her team felt the pressure like a physical force radiating through the room. And then something unexpected happened. Something no one predicted, no one asked for, and no one could have imagined. A message from Meghan's phone leaked. Not a rant, not an insult, not a meltdown line, but a single sentence she sent to someone close. A sentence that would soon go viral. A sentence that revealed exactly how rattled she was. A sentence that said, "She has ruined everything, again." But before the world saw that leak, before the headline exploded, before Meghan realized her private messages weren't as private as she believed, something else happened. Something that escalated the meltdown to a level even her team didn't see coming. Because someone stepped into the room. Someone Meghan didn't expect. Someone who brought news that made everything 10 times worse. And Meghan's reaction? It was the moment her meltdown turned into a full-blown crisis. Because what she heard next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. What if the sentence Kate Middleton delivered on that stage wasn't just a moment, but a layered message? A double-edged remark crafted with precision, wrapped in professionalism, and dipped in just enough ambiguity to make the world wonder who she was talking about? What if Kate, who rarely slips, rarely improvises, and rarely indulges in public shade, had finally said something that hit a nerve she knew Meghan couldn't ignore? Because Chapter 3 isn't about the meltdown. Chapter 3 is about the meaning, the sentence, the subtext, the symbolism, the interpretation, and the global reaction that sent Meghan spiraling long before the palace made a single move. But before we dive into linguistics, strategy, and royal subtext, let me ask you something. Have you ever said something completely neutral, a harmless observation, a general life comment, and someone took it personally? And not just personally, but so personally that they made it the center of their world, their grievance, their narrative? That's Meghan. That's the royal relationship. That's the dynamic. Kate speaks softly. Meghan hears thunder. And this particular sentence, 9 seconds long, was enough to reopen old wounds, revive old rumors, and reignite one of the most toxic conversations in the royal sphere. Let's revisit the line that broke the internet. We must remind young professionals that success doesn't come from jumping on glamorous shortcuts or reinventing yourself every few months simply to stay relevant. Now, on paper, that sentence is harmless. Encouraging, even. A mentor-like piece of guidance. The kind of advice you'd expect from someone who spent more than a decade working quietly behind the scenes before stepping into global leadership. But context is everything. And timing is everything. And history, especially royal history, is everything. Because that sentence echoed directly into 3 major parts of Meghan's public story. Her past, her rebranding, her reputation. Let's break this line apart piece by piece and look at why it detonated online before the summit even ended. The first part, jumping on glamorous shortcuts. The word glamorous is what triggered the first spark. Why? Because Meghan's critics, fair or unfair, have used that very word to describe her rise. Glamorous acting roles, glamorous Hollywood connections, glamorous relationships, glamorous yacht stories, glamorous reinventions, glamorous appearances at high-profile events she allegedly wasn't invited to. The implication, whether intended or not, is that Meghan has often taken glamour routes rather than traditional hard work paths. Again, whether this is true or not doesn't matter. What matters is perception. And the perception exploded. The second part, reinventing yourself every few months. This part struck even harder. Meghan's entire public journey can be summarized in one word, reinvention. She reinvented herself after Hollywood. She reinvented herself after becoming a duchess. She reinvented herself after leaving the royal family. She reinvented herself after joining Netflix. She reinvented herself after each controversy. She reinvented herself after every public misstep. Reinvention isn't inherently wrong. Many celebrities reinvent. Many public figures evolve. But Meghan's reinventions have often been accompanied by major brand reboots, PR campaigns, and messaging shifts. Big enough that the public noticed. So when Kate dropped that phrase, people immediately drew parallels. The third part, simply to stay relevant. This hurt Meghan the most. Because in Hollywood, the word relevant is more brutal than any insult. It doesn't just mean popular. It means worthy of attention. It means useful. It means marketable. To accuse someone, even indirectly, of reinventing themselves to stay relevant is to suggest they are losing momentum, losing influence, losing importance. For Meghan, who has fought tooth and nail to maintain cultural relevance after leaving the monarchy, those 6 words were surgical, and the internet felt it instantly. But here's the question no one asked. Did Kate mean it? Or was it an unfortunate coincidence? You might think it doesn't matter, but it does, because intent shapes impact. So let's examine the possibilities, the 3 interpretations the world debated in real time. Interpretation 1, innocent advice. Many supporters insisted the line had nothing to do with Meghan, that Kate was referring to young professionals in general, highlighting the growing culture of shortcuts, online fame, and gig economy burnout. This interpretation paints Kate as innocent, safe, focused on leadership, not drama. Interpretation 2, subtle shade. Others argued that Kate, having endured years of Meghan's criticisms, media attacks, accusations, and comparisons, finally let something slip. Not a direct attack, not an obvious insult, but a quiet acknowledgement of the truth as she sees it. Interpretation 3, strategic messaging. This interpretation, the most fascinating, suggests the line was crafted deliberately, not out of spite, not out of pettiness, but out of timing. Because the royal family knows how to send messages without naming names. They've done it for centuries. Their entire brand is built on subtext, symbolism, and silence. And this line, delivered at a summit promoting authenticity, leadership, and work ethic, was the perfect place for it. But here's the twist. Kate didn't write the speech alone. Royal speeches go through multiple hands: advisors, strategists, communication specialists, and palace officials. Every line is discussed. Every phrase is examined. Every possible interpretation is considered. The idea that this line accidentally slipped through without anyone thinking about how the world might interpret it? Highly unlikely. But whether Kate meant it or not, the reaction was instant and powerful and global. Linguists got involved. Body language experts got involved. Leadership analysts got involved. People who have never cared about the royal family got involved. One linguist said, "The line is crafted to appear generic, but carries socially coded cues that imply a contrast between authenticity and constructed identity." Another expert said, "The phrasing mirrors criticisms often directed at Meghan Markle. Whether intentional or not, it is impossible to ignore the parallel." But the most viral commentary came from a leadership columnist. Kate Middleton may have delivered the most eloquent piece of royal shade in modern history, without ever saying her name. Meanwhile, the internet was on fire. Some tweets mocked Meghan. Some defended her. Some blamed Kate. Some praised Kate. Some simply watched the drama unfold like a global soap opera. But here's the part that shocked everyone. Royal protocol dictates that Kate should not respond to controversy, especially not online. And she didn't. Not once. Not with a statement. Not with a clarification. Not with a hint of regret or explanation. Her silence created a vacuum. A vacuum the world filled with meaning. And that silence made Meghan look even more reactive, more unstable, more threatened. Kate didn't have to fight. Meghan fought herself. But behind the scenes, something was happening that Meghan didn't yet know. Something that would make everything worse. Because while the internet was dissecting Kate's sentence, palace insiders were already discussing something else. A second line. A line Kate never said. A line that had been removed from the speech at the last minute. What was that line? Who removed it? Why? And what would it have meant for Meghan? Here's what we know. Kate's original draft contained a sentence about integrity that cannot be purchased or manufactured. Strong, powerful, and absolutely explosive. Had Kate said that, Meghan's meltdown would have doubled in intensity. Insiders say the line was removed precisely to avoid appearing too pointed. But the fact it existed at all? That was enough to fuel whispers inside the palace. And Meghan would soon learn about it. Not from the public, not from the palace, but from someone she trusted. Someone who wasn't supposed to say anything. Someone who broke protocol. And what they told her would push Meghan into the next phase of crisis. Because what Meghan heard next, and who it came from, would twist the knife even deeper. And if she was furious before, she was about to become unhinged. What if the world reacted faster than Meghan Markle's own team could prepare her? What if, while Meghan was still pacing across that Montecito living room, clutching her phone and trying to understand the meaning behind Kate Middleton's now infamous comment, the internet had already made its decision? Because the moment Kate's sentence hit social media, everything collapsed into chaos. And this chapter isn't polite. It isn't softened. It isn't filtered. This is the unvarnished, ugly, explosive truth about how the digital world responded. Instantly, brutally, and without mercy. Let's start with the first 30 seconds online. 30 seconds. Not minutes. Not hours. Just seconds. TikTok users clipped the 9-second moment and posted it with captions like, She's talking about Meghan. Don't lie. Kate, blink twice if you meant it. Shots fired at the Duchess of Reinvention. But then came the phrase that changed everything. Duchess of Yacht. It didn't start as a hashtag. It didn't start as a meme. It didn't start as a joke. It started as a single comment beneath one upload. She's dragging the Duchess of Yacht, and we all know it. Within 4 minutes, that comment had 10,000 likes. 14 minutes later, the hashtag existed. 20 minutes later, Twitter made it trend at number 8. 38 minutes later, it hit number 1 in the UK. 46 minutes later, it hit number 1 worldwide. And here's the incredible part. Meghan hadn't even publicly reacted yet. The clip wasn't even an hour old. Kate wasn't even done with her post-speech meet and greet backstage. But the internet? The internet had already decided that Meghan was the punchline. Let's break down the reaction, because it was unlike anything we've seen in the modern royal era. Reaction Group 1, the meme creators. These people work faster than news outlets. Before mainstream media even touched the story, meme accounts churned out thousands of posts. Images of Meghan looking shocked. Kate smiling serenely. Captions like, Kate said, no shortcuts, and Meghan said, but I took the yacht. When your sister-in-law starts your rebrand for you. Duchess of Cambridge versus Duchess of Yachtbridge. Harsh. Petty. Viral. Meme pages explode because cruelty online spreads faster than kindness. And Meghan, whether she deserved it or not, became the internet's favorite target within minutes. Reaction Group 2, the analysts. Body language experts, PR strategists, linguists, leadership advisors, royal historians, they all jumped in. They slowed down Kate's clip frame by frame, analyzed her breathing, her posture, her tone, her blink rate, her hand placement on the podium. One analyst said, this is controlled speech with an embedded message. Another said, the line was clearly stress-tested by speechwriters. It was meant to resonate. A third wrote, this type of phrasing is rarely accidental. It is diplomatic shade. Not direct, not overt, but shade nonetheless. And when experts validate the public's suspicions, the internet doubles down. Reaction Group 3, the defenders. Of course, Meghan has loyal supporters, celebrities, fans, activists, commentators, progressive journalists. They came to her defense quickly. Some said Kate was unprofessional. Some said the speech was petty. Some said the line was clearly pointed toward Meghan. Some said Kate was weaponizing her platform. But here's the thing. Defending Meghan doesn't erase the rumor. In fact, it amplifies it. Because once the defenders acknowledged the interpretation, it confirmed to neutral audiences that there was something there. Reaction Group 4, the critics. These are Meghan's long-term critics. They don't forgive. They don't soften. They don't forget her past claims, interviews, or perceived inconsistencies. And they feasted. She reinvented herself every 2 weeks. Kate isn't lying. Finally, someone said it. Kate did what the palace never dared. She told no lies. Meghan better hide. It wasn't just commentary. It was a tidal wave. Reaction Group 5, the curious. This is where everything escalates beyond Meghan's control. Because this group didn't know anything about Meghan's rumored yacht past. They had never heard the nickname. They didn't understand the implication. So what did they do? They Googled. And nothing spreads faster than curiosity mixed with scandal. Search trends skyrocketed. Articles resurfaced. Old rumors reappeared. Photos, real and fake, circulated. Archived discussions bubbled back up. The internet doesn't forget. It only waits. And Kate's line awakened all the sleeping dogs at the same time. Now let's zoom in on the literal minute-by-minute spread. Minute 1, the clip is uploaded. Minute 5, comments about Meghan appear. Minute 11, the nickname resurfaces. Minute 18, small influencers begin reacting. Minute 22, Twitter memes explode. Minute 29, reaction videos hit TikTok's For You feed. Minute 31, long-form breakdowns appear on Instagram Reels. Minute 37, Reddit threads emerge analyzing every syllable. Minute 41, American audiences join the trend. Minute 46, Duchess of Yacht hits number 1 worldwide. Minute 52, news outlets write headlines. Minute 57, YouTubers begin recording commentary. Minute 59, Meghan's PR team realizes they're already behind. And at this exact moment, while the world was ripping Meghan apart digitally, Meghan herself was still pacing the living room, rewatching the clip, whispering she did this intentionally, and trying to grasp how quickly the narrative slipped out of her hands. This is where the story deepens. The way rumors spread online isn't linear. It's explosive, exponential. One spark becomes a firestorm. One phrase becomes a label. One public figure becomes a magnet. And Meghan, whether she wants the role or not, attracts this level of scrutiny. Every reinvention she tries to control becomes weaponized against her. But nothing hit her as hard as the one image that resurfaced next. Because in the middle of the online frenzy, someone uploaded a picture. Not scandalous, not illegal, not explicit, just a photo from Meghan's past. A real one. One she had hoped would never emerge again. It showed Meghan, years before royalty, smiling aboard a luxury boat with wealthy acquaintances. Nothing unusual, nothing incriminating, but enough for the internet to say, This is what Kate meant. The photo went viral in under 20 minutes. Millions of views, hundreds of thousands of likes, thousands of shares, hundreds of stitches and duets. And once that photo circulated, the hashtag took on a life of its own. Duchess of Yacht became a running joke, a punchline, a title, a meme, an identity, everything Meghan didn't want. But this was only the beginning. Because while the internet roasted Meghan mercilessly, a small detail slipped through unnoticed, a detail that would eventually reach the palace, then the press, then Meghan. Someone noticed that Kate smiled at the exact moment the audience reacted to the line. Not a smirk, not a laugh, not a mocking expression, just a soft, knowing smile. And the internet decided, as it always does. She knows exactly what she did. But here's where the real twist emerges. Because while the entire world was tearing Meghan apart, Meghan hadn't seen the worst of it yet. Not the photo, not the memes, not the analysis, not the trending hashtag. Those were just the surface ripples. But something else was circulating privately. Something far more explosive. Something the public wouldn't see for another 12 hours. Something that would push the controversy from petty shade to international scandal. A journalist, someone Meghan once trusted, was quietly sending an email. Attached to the email was a file. And inside that file was something that would devastate Meghan. Because the image that just went viral on Twitter, the harmless one, it wasn't the only image. There was another, a more damaging one. A photo Meghan never wanted the world to see. A photo sitting in a journalist's inbox, waiting. And by the time Meghan learned about it, rumors were already forming. Because what came next was something no one saw coming. What would you do if the world exploded over a 9-second clip? What if your reputation, your brand, and your carefully crafted image were suddenly trending worldwide for all the wrong reasons? That was the exact moment Meghan Markle found herself standing on the edge of a storm she couldn't control. And the room she turned to for help? Her PR war room. The place where strategies are devised, words are chosen carefully, and reputations are protected. But this wasn't business as usual. This was chaos. Pure, unfiltered, chaotic energy. The kind that makes seasoned PR veterans question every assumption they ever had about controlling narratives. Meghan paced, hands clasped behind her back, then over her face, then pointing sharply at the screen showing Kate Middleton's clip. Her team watched silently. Some hid their anxiety. Others tried to anticipate her next move. Why didn't anyone warn me? Meghan demanded. Her voice was sharp, like broken glass, cutting across the war room. Didn't anyone see this coming? Her communications director tried to interject carefully. We were monitoring social media, Meghan. The clip just went live. Monitoring? Monitoring. Do you know what monitoring is? This is trending worldwide. Do you understand what trending worldwide means? Meghan snapped. Her tone left no room for argument. The room froze. Assistants exchanged tense glances. Every PR strategist in that space had seen meltdown moments before, but nothing like this. Meghan's energy was different. Electric, volatile, focused, and untamed all at once. One junior strategist spoke up tentatively. We could issue a statement. Meghan spun toward them, pointing a finger sharply. A statement? Do you want to make this worse? Do you understand what happens if we respond wrong? Do you realize people will eat anything we say and turn it against me? Short silence. The kind where every heartbeat feels amplified. Then what do? Someone asked, almost whispering. Control it, Meghan said, pacing again. We own it. We turn it. We show the world I am not the punchline. I refuse. I will not be the punchline. Do you understand? PR advisors exchanged glances. Some had worked crises with celebrities before. They had seen tempers flare. They had handled backlash. But Meghan's approach here was different. It was not about diplomacy. It was about domination. She wanted the narrative rewritten on her terms. And here's the kicker. The clip was innocent, at least technically. Kate hadn't named Meghan. Kate hadn't directly attacked her. Kate's words were crafted, diplomatic, and safe on paper. Yet Meghan's mind interpreted the moment as a full-scale assault. Because Meghan has never been someone who lets slights slide. Not in Hollywood. Not in royalty. Not in media. Every slight, every insinuation, every rumor is ammunition. And when someone touches that ammo box, Meghan reacts like an explosion is inevitable. Her team tried calming her. It might not even be about you, Meghan. She didn't say your name. Maybe it's general advice. No, Meghan said firmly. Her voice dropped to a chilling whisper. I know what that meant. I know. And the world knows. They just need someone to point it out. A senior strategist, experienced in both Hollywood crises and international PR, attempted reasoning. If we respond, we risk confirmation. If we stay silent, we risk speculation. Silence is a tool, Meghan, trust me. But Meghan was past listening. Her mind was racing a mile a minute. Every potential social media post, every meme, every GIF, every TikTok stitch, all the ways this line could be interpreted, every angle, every headline, every late-night host waiting to comment. She knew instinctively, and maybe accurately, that in today's media environment, silence can be weaponized. She could do nothing, and that inaction would be construed as guilt, weakness, or worse, insecurity. So what did she do? She turned to her phone, fingers flying over the screen, sending messages. Some to close friends, some to Hollywood allies, some to team members abroad. Every message carefully crafted, yet fueled by panic. Some were instructive, some defensive, some warning. All of them urgent. One team member reportedly whispered to another, "This is escalating faster than anything we've handled before." Meanwhile, Meghan continued pacing. Words poured out like a torrential storm. We need to control this. We need to hit first. No one is allowed to interpret it without me. Not the media, not the public, not the palace. I am taking this back. Her tone carried authority, but it also carried fear. The kind of fear that sits beneath the surface, unspoken, and fuels impulsive action. Then came the debate, the defining moment inside that war room. Some strategists recommended restraint. If you engage, you risk amplifying it. If you amplify it, the narrative spins out completely. Trust the silent strategy. Meghan shot them a look that froze everyone. Her jaw tight, eyes blazing. I am not staying silent. You don't get it. They think they can erase me. They think I will quietly accept this. They think I will let the Duchess of Yacht joke define me again. I will not. The room held its collective breath. In the next few minutes, Meghan allegedly drafted 3 potential responses. A carefully worded public statement emphasizing her leadership and authenticity. A direct rebuttal of the Duchess of Yacht, nickname circulating online. A social media campaign subtly reclaiming the narrative and asserting her relevance. Her team was divided. Some advocated for option 1, safe, measured, controlled. Some argued option 2 would inflame the situation further. Some quietly supported option 3, noting its potential viral appeal. But Meghan's decision-making style is relentless. She wanted all 3 combined. She wanted them now. She wanted a media storm on her terms. She wanted control over the narrative before anyone else could spin it against her. And then something unexpected happened. An assistant accidentally shared part of Meghan's drafted statement internally. Not a full release, just a snippet. Within 10 minutes, someone outside the inner circle saw it. And within another 20, it started leaking online. The first leak wasn't dramatic. It was a line. She thinks she can define my story. She is wrong. But leaks have a way of evolving. Within the hour, the line was quoted. Headlines appeared. Blogs interpreted it. Tweets amplified it. Social media exploded. The fire had now become uncontrollable. And Meghan? She reportedly became more agitated. Pacing faster. Talking louder. Breathing heavier. Her team tried to manage her emotional spikes, while also trying to manage the crisis they had only just realized was out of control. Meanwhile, Harry called in from a separate location. Calm, composed, attempting to de-escalate. Meghan, let it go. Don't feed it. Silence is powerful, he advised. But Meghan wasn't listening. No, you don't understand. She's using this against me. She is controlling the narrative with her silence. I can't let her do this. Not again. I refuse. At this point, the war room had turned into a high-pressure zone. Phones buzzed, emails pinged, texts appeared on multiple screens. Analysts, assistants, stylists, and strategists tried to stay calm, but the energy was electric. And then Meghan allegedly made the pivotal decision. She would respond publicly within hours, using all available channels. She wanted a message. She wanted a statement. She wanted the world to understand. She was not a passive target. But here's the problem. When Meghan decides to take control, she doesn't always measure the fallout. And this time, she was about to take a step that would ignite new controversy, putting her directly in the crosshairs of media speculation and palace scrutiny. The room went silent for a moment, everyone collectively realizing the implications. She was about to act. And the consequences? Unpredictable. The tension in that Montecito war room was palpable. It wasn't just a PR crisis anymore. It was personal, professional, and potentially catastrophic. Every decision, every message, every tweet could escalate the feud further, and Meghan was determined to escalate it on her own terms. And while the world was still dissecting Kate's line, Meghan had already moved beyond reaction. She was planning retaliation. But what she didn't know, what no one in that room could anticipate, was that someone inside the palace had already noticed the viral clip and was quietly mobilizing their own strategy. And when Meghan learned about that, it would push the situation into uncharted territory. Because what came next would change everything, and no one was ready for it. What if the most powerful weapon in this drama wasn't a word, a line, or a public attack, but silence? What if the person responsible for Meghan Markle's spiraling meltdown wasn't actively pursuing her, wasn't even acknowledging her existence, yet still held all the cards? That person, of course, was Kate Middleton. And in this chapter, we explore why silence, not confrontation, terrifies Meghan more than any headline, any rumor, or any viral clip. Because silence creates a vacuum. And the internet, and Meghan, will always fill a vacuum with chaos. Picture this. The Future Workforce Summit is over. The applause has faded. Kate Middleton has walked off the stage, shaking hands, smiling politely at organizers and attendees. Cameras capture her every movement. The world watches in real time. Headlines are already forming. Social media clips are spreading. The meme engines are spinning. But Kate? She is quiet, calm, unbothered. And that's the moment Meghan learns the full weight of the situation. She doesn't see Kate's expression on the stage. She doesn't hear Kate's post-speech conversation with organizers. She only sees the aftermath, the clips, the tweets, the hashtags, the memes. And her first instinct is panic. Because Meghan knows something crucial. When Kate speaks, the world listens. When Kate acts, the world reacts. But when Kate does nothing, the world assumes everything. And everything in Meghan's world? That's terrifying. Think about it. Silence is interpreted in multiple ways. Is it indifference? Is it strategy? Is it confidence? Or is it a warning? And Meghan knows the answer, or at least what she fears it is. She has spent years observing, analyzing, and anticipating Kate's every move. She knows Kate doesn't act impulsively. She knows Kate doesn't overreact. She knows Kate doesn't make mistakes on public stages. And now, Kate's silence is screaming louder than any accusation could. Meghan paces the Montecito living room again, phone in hand. Social media is ablaze. Supporters are defending her. Critics are mocking her. Memes are viral. Headlines are trending. Analysts are dissecting Kate's every movement. And still, Kate has not uttered a single word. Silence. Absolute, calculated silence. Meghan's team watches nervously. They've seen her meltdown escalate before, but silence is a new weapon, one they cannot predict, control, or mitigate. An assistant whispers cautiously, maybe she's just ignoring it. It might not be personal. Meghan stops pacing and glares. Ignoring it? That's exactly the problem. That's what terrifies me. She knows I will react. She knows the world will react. And she's letting it happen, letting me create the story for her. Do you understand? The room is silent. The tension is electric. This is where Meghan's fear meets strategy. Because unlike a direct attack, which can be responded to, refuted, or ignored, silence forces action. It forces interpretation. It forces the target, in this case, Meghan, to overthink, overanalyze, and overreact. And Meghan is reacting intensely. Her breathing is rapid. Her fingers tap the phone. Her eyes scan social media feeds like a hawk hunting prey. Every viral clip, every trending hashtag, every news snippet is evidence to her that Kate's silence is deliberate. And that deliberate silence terrifies Meghan because it implies control, power, mastery. And Meghan? She cannot stand to be outmaneuvered. For years, Meghan has built a narrative around influence, control, and visibility. She thrives when she dictates the conversation, when she manages perception, when she asserts her relevance. But now, she is playing catch-up to someone who doesn't even have to speak to dominate. This is why silence is dangerous. Silence forces Meghan into action, into impulsivity, into escalation, into mistakes. And mistakes are exactly what the world will amplify. So what does Meghan do? She escalates. She paces. She types furiously. She calls advisors. She drafts statements. She considers public responses. She weighs hashtags. She debates timing. She strategizes outreach. She plans her next moves as though the clock is ticking, because in the world of viral media, every second counts.